SpongeBob SquarePants Mysteries Stage Fright. Chapter 25. That was it! Like bait on a hook. We'd come to the end of the line. As detectives on the case, we were through. Washed up. Kaput! Or so it seemed. Defeated, Sandy trudged toward the stage door with SpongeBob close behind. Well, I guess that's it, Sandy said. We failed worse than a prospector digging for gold in a pecan pie. Sandy, SpongeBob said, before we go, we better get your briefcase out of the electrical supply room. Briefcase? Sandy asked, puzzled. What briefcase? Your briefcase, SpongeBob said pointedly. Oh, Sandy said. Right, that briefcase. She led the way to a small storeroom. SpongeBob squeezed in after her and closed the door. He found a flashlight, picked it up, and tried turning it on. It worked. SpongeBob, what are you up to? Sandy whispered. Dorado told us in no certain terms to vamoose. If he catches us in here, he'll be madder than a bucking bronco with a burp under his saddle. He found another working flashlight and handed it to Sandy. I got an idea when I was wearing the wig. We're going to go back up in the attic above the house and search for clues. There's a real low ceiling, so I figured the culprit might have scraped their head and left hairs behind. Okay, Sandy said slowly. But how are we going to get up there? If we try to go through the lobby to the balcony, Dorado's pretty sure to see us. We have to go right past his table in the house. SpongeBob smiled. Last night, the saboteur didn't come back to the balcony in the lobby. First thing we knew, they were walking across the stage, so there must be a way to get up to the attic from backstage. Sandy thought a moment, trying to retrieve a vague memory, and she had it. That threatening note I found back in the corner where they store the monster puppet. It was taped to a little door. Could be that's the way from backstage up to the attic space. They cracked the storeroom door open and peered out, checking for Dorado. The coast was clear. They slipped out and snuck along the back wall of the theater until they reached the corner behind the monster puppet. There was the little door Sandy had remembered. They opened it and found ladder rungs nailed to the wall, just like the ones in the vertical passage SpongeBob had climbed the night before. But this narrow shaft led all the way from the stage level up to the attic, like a chimney. They got in, closed the door behind them, switched on their flashlights, and started to climb. At the top, they climbed out into the low attic space. Sandy touched the ceiling. I see what you mean about what it's like up here. It'd be hard not to scrape your head on the ceiling. They started scanning the ceiling with their flashlights, sweeping the beams of light back and forth, working their way from one end of the attic to the other. At about the halfway point, SpongeBob stopped. Something hung from the rafters, gleaming in the glow of his flashlight. A long blonde hair. As SpongeBob carefully plucked the golden strand of hair from the ceiling, Sandy asked, "Whose do you think it is?" Well, SpongeBob said, the first blonde around the theater I can think of is... What are you doing up here? A voice asked sharply. They both whipped their flashlights in the direction the voice had come from. They saw Emma climbing out of the shaft that SpongeBob had used the night before to climb up from the lobby. Her blonde hair shone in the light. We can hear your footsteps through the ceiling of the auditorium, she said. Mr. Dorado sent me up here to find out what's going on. He said he told you to leave the theater immediately. So what are you doing? SpongeBob thought fast. Could Emma be the culprit? But why? Why would she want the show to be called off? Mr. Dorado's not very nice to you, is he, Emma? Her face tightened. Her eyes darted back and forth. What are you talking about? Oh, come on, Emma, Sandy said, backing up her partner. We've all seen him treat you like you're invisible. She shook her head. He's under a lot of pressure, that's all. Is that why you did it, Emma? SpongeBob pressed. Did I what? she said, furrowing her brow. Try to ruin the show, SpongeBob said. Switch props and makeup, ruin costumes, drop lights and pipes, let the threatening notes. She looked shocked. No, I would never do any of those things. How could I do that to Uncle Martin? Stay tuned for chapter 26, coming up soon.